2003, my youngest son and his wife were expecting their first baby, and I was very, very excited to have this grandchild. She had a normal pregnancy, healthy, full term, everything was fine, normal labor, and the baby died during delivery. No reason, we never found out why. The medical staff was as stunned as the family, and it really rocked me. The hardest part for me was that as the grandmother, I felt as though I wasn't entitled to grieve for this baby, that society expected me to be strong and take care of my son and daughter-in-law. And people asked me constantly when I went back to work, "How's your daughter-in-law doing?" Many people didn't even ask how my son was doing, but very few people asked me how I was doing and how I was handling it. I looked for resources. I couldn't find anything. I found lots and lots of books on perinatal loss, but they were all geared toward parents. Most of them had maybe one page for a grandparent. I looked for support groups, and the local physical support groups were geared again toward parents. And they discouraged the grandparents from coming because sometimes parents had issues with the way their parents, the grandparents, were handling the loss. So I finally ended up online. I found an online support group through a national organization that had a grandparent chapter, and most of the deaths of the people in this chapter were either infants, some SIDS, some very toddler cancers, but they were all young. So I finally found a community that I could talk to and relate to, and a place that I could take my grief. The online forum worked for me because in the middle of the night, I didn't have to get dressed and leave the house. I could just boot up the computer, and there was always somebody there. So it's been many, many years, and kind of the analogy that I use to describe my grief now is that it's like your favorite bathrobe. It's worn smooth, but it's still there. I still put it on every day. I carry my granddaughter in my heart. I certainly don't want to forget her. I want to honor her, which is one of the reasons why I've been involved with activities locally to try and create a legacy, and to remember her, and to keep her being a part of my family, because she was somebody. So when people ask me how many grandchildren I have, I automatically say 4. I don't hesitate. Sometimes I still to this day get tripped up when they ask, like, how old are they? If they say how many boys, how many girls, I'm okay with that. I can say I have 1 grandson, 3 granddaughters. But then when they ask the ages, I'm never quite sure what to say. You know, that's the rough part, is answering the questions that people ask in a social situation, not intending to get into a whole big grief discussion. I've always been a journaler, and I kept a very detailed journal after she died, and I would be on the phone late at night with actually my daughter-in-law, and we both are readers, so we would order books and trade the books on Amazon, and I used to whine and complain to her that I couldn't find anything for grandparents, and that I was rereading my own journal entries. And she, the bereaved mother, was the one who said to me, "Then that's the book you need to write, because you've done the research. You know that approximately 80 babies a day are stillborn in the United States. You are not the only grandmother sitting there crying in the middle of the night." So I wrote a book on the grandparents' journey. I combined grief theory with our own personal family history. And now I do a lot of public speaking. I present workshops at national conferences, and have tried to become very involved in local organizations dealing with grief. There's lots of research going on about causes of death, but people don't want to talk about the afterward. And our grief stays with us. It becomes a part of who we are and a part of our life. You know, there's kind of a cliche that we grieve because we loved, and I think it's very much true. If she certainly weren't significant, I would not have felt the physical pain that I had, you know, during the immediate months and years after her death. And as I said, it's softer now, it's gentler. When I'm talking to newly bereaved grandparents and they ask, when will I get over this and when will this end? One of the things I tell them is, it's not something that you get over, it's something that you find a way to incorporate. You make it part of who you are. And it becomes easier over time, like that soft bathrobe that's been washed many, many times. But the fact that my granddaughter died will never get any better.